Everything you have been taught about making a woman love you is a comfortable, polite, and absolute lie. Society tells you that to keep a woman, you need to bend over backward, bleed your emotions dry, and make her the absolute center of your universe. They sell you the illusion that endless compromise and naked vulnerability are the golden keys to a woman's heart. They tell you that if you just give enough, care enough, and sacrifice enough of yourself, she will reward you with unconditional loyalty. But you have lived in the real world long enough to know that is a fairy tale. Welcome back to Stoic Chisel, where we strip away the modern illusions and carve out the brutal, unapologetic truth. If you are tired of playing a rigged game where you always end up losing, hit that subscribe button right now, and let us build some real armor. The greatest mistake a modern man makes is projecting his own romantic ideals onto female psychology. Men love with ideals. When a man truly falls for a woman, he decides he will stand by her, protect her, and provide for her, regardless of how chaotic things get. He assumes she operates on the exact same software. She does not. Women do not love with ideals. They love with instinct. It sounds cold, it sounds harsh, but it is the raw truth that will finally set you free from your own frustration. A woman's desire is not a contract based on your past good deeds. Her attraction is not anchored to how many bills you paid last month or how many times you listened to her complain about her day. Her desire is entirely dependent on how your masculine presence makes her feel in the present moment. Does she feel a man who is deeply grounded? Does she sense a man who governs himself? Or does she feel a man who crumbles the second she changes her tone of voice? This is exactly where the ancient philosophy of Stoicism becomes the most lethal tool in your modern arsenal. You cannot negotiate genuine, burning desire. The more you try to talk a woman into respecting you, the faster she loses every ounce of attraction for you. The fairy tale lie tells you that a good, nice guy gets the girl and lives happily ever after. Reality tells you that a man who abandons his own center to appease a woman will eventually be despised by her. You give your time, your money, your emotional sanity, and you still wake up one day wondering why she looks at you with distance or outright contempt. It is because you handed her the keys to your emotional kingdom. You thought you were being a devoted partner. She saw a man who was too weak to guard his own gates. Stoicism teaches us that we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. You suffer in relationships because you expect a woman to be a rational, unwavering pillar of unconditional love. You are getting angry at the wind for blowing. A Stoic man understands that a woman's shifting moods, her emotional storms, and her pulling away are external events. They are entirely outside of your control. But what is in your control is your reaction to the storm. When you stop trying to control her feelings and start commanding your own mind, you become an entirely different breed of man. You become a man with a solid core. You become the calm within the chaos, and ironically, that is exactly what her biology is desperately searching for. She does not want a man who cries with her every time the wind blows. She wants a mountain that the wind cannot move. But understanding this biological truth is only the very first step. Because the moment she senses you are trying to build this Stoic armor, she will put it to the test. She will push your limits, cross your lines, and try to find the exact cracking point where you lose your composure. And the way she does this is entirely subconscious, a hidden game she plays every single day to measure your true worth. You are about to discover exactly how this psychological game works, and why the way you are currently reacting is destroying your value in her eyes. Every single day, you are being tested. It is not a test written on paper, and she will never announce when it is happening. It is a silent, subconscious evaluation of your masculine frame, and most men fail it before they even realize the game has begun. Women play the boundary game, and they do not play it out of malice or a desire to ruin your life. They play it because their biology demands to know if they are standing next to a rock or a house of cards. She needs to know where your edge is. She needs to know what you will tolerate, what you will excuse, and exactly how much pressure it takes to make you abandon your own standards. When she shows up late, when she makes a passive-aggressive comment, or when she creates unnecessary drama over a minor inconvenience, she is not just having a bad day. She is poking the cage of your emotional stability. The modern man, brainwashed by the illusion of unconditional loyalty, thinks that if he just absorbs her disrespect, she will eventually appreciate his patience. He thinks that his past sacrifices have bought him a lifetime of devotion. That is the grand illusion. A woman's loyalty is not a savings account where you deposit good deeds and withdraw devotion years later. Her loyalty is a daily subscription, and the currency she demands is your emotional strength in the present moment. To understand this brutal reality, you need to look at what happens when a modern man faces a sudden collapse in his life. Forget about ancient emperors facing foreign armies. Let us talk about the battleground of modern survival. Imagine a guy named Mark. Mark has a solid career in the tech sector. He provides, he is steady, and his relationship feels like a fortress. But then the financial market shifts, the company downsizes, and on a random Tuesday, Mark is laid off. Suddenly, his title is gone, his income is frozen, and his identity takes a massive hit. This is the ultimate test of the Stoic mind, but Mark does not have a Stoic mind. He panics. He comes home, slumps on the couch, and dumps every ounce of his anxiety onto his partner. He over-explains the situation. He seeks her pity. He vents about how unfair the corporate world is, and he looks to her to be his emotional anchor. He thinks he is just being vulnerable, because that is what society told him to do. He thinks his history of paying the mortgage guarantees she will stand by him through this weakness. He is dead wrong. In that exact moment, a biological self-interest flips inside her head. She looks at him and no longer sees the grounded leader she committed to. She sees a boy who is terrified of the dark, and almost immediately, she starts to pull away. Her texts get colder. Her tone gets shorter. She stops initiating affection. Mark feels this shift and panics even more, desperately asking her what is wrong, which only accelerates her loss of respect for him. He thinks she is abandoning him because he lost his paycheck. But the brutal truth is, she is not repelled by his empty bank account. She is repelled by his collapsing frame. She is repelled because the moment adversity struck, he completely abandoned his self-governance. A Stoic man faces the exact same layoff, but his internal software is entirely different. The Stoic man understands that a job, a title, and a bank balance are external preferred indifference. They can be taken away by the market, by a boss, or by a shifting economy. But his mind, his reaction, and his emotional gravity belong strictly to him. When the Stoic man loses his job, he walks through the front door, sits down, and calmly states the facts. He does not hide the truth, but he refuses to bleed his anxiety all over the living room floor. He does not seek pity, he seeks solutions. He tells her what happened, and in the same breath, he tells her the 3 steps he is taking tomorrow to fix it. He remains the anchor. When a woman witnesses a man take a massive hit from the world and not even flinch, something incredible happens. Her respect for him does not just remain intact. It multiplies. She feels an overwhelming surge of primal attraction because she realizes she is standing next to a man who cannot be broken by modern chaos. She realizes that his power does not come from his paycheck. It comes from his mind. This is the power of the boundary game and the reality of conditional loyalty. You must draw a line in the sand regarding your own emotional discipline. You cannot let your sense of self-worth ride on the volatile waves of a woman's mood or the unpredictable nature of your career. The moment you hand over your emotional remote control to anyone else, you have already lost the relationship. You must become a man who is so firmly rooted in his own purpose that external storms simply break against your surface. But knowing how to stand your ground when disaster strikes is only half the battle. Because what happens when the threat is not a lost job, but the suffocating nature of modern digital life? What happens when she starts pulling away for no logical reason at all, and the silence between you grows heavy? Society tells you to chase her, to double text her, to close the gap before you lose her. I am going to show you why doing that is emotional suicide, and why mastering the brutal art of distance is the only way to ignite a psychological fire she cannot put out. The modern world has sold you a massive lie about communication. They tell you that in the digital age, being constantly connected is the ultimate sign of love and devotion. They tell you to text her good morning, check in at lunch, reply within seconds, and never leave her on read. And you do it because you think it proves you are a reliable, caring man. You think that your constant, suffocating availability is building a deeper bond. But in reality, you are draining the very oxygen that attraction needs to survive. Distance is not the enemy of desire. Distance is the absolute, non-negotiable fuel for it. To understand why your constant digital presence is destroying her respect for you, you have to understand the law of polarity. Masculine and feminine energies operate exactly like magnets. For two magnets to snap together with explosive force, there must be space between them first. If you never step back, if you never give her room to wonder about you, you completely eliminate that magnetic pull. You collapse the tension, and without tension, there is zero attraction. Let us look at the modern disaster of dating in the smartphone era. Look at the guy who sits at his desk, staring at a glowing rectangle, waiting for her name to pop up on the screen. The moment she sends a text, his heart rate spikes, and he fires back a paragraph within 3 seconds. He watches every single one of her social media stories the minute she posts them. He constantly checks her online status to see if she is active. He thinks he is showing interest, but what he is actually broadcasting is a massive, neon sign of desperation. He is telling her that his time has absolutely no value. He is telling her that he has no higher purpose, no pressing mission, and no internal world of his own. He has become a digital orbiter circling her life. He does not have a gravitational pull of his own. Women do not respect orbiters. A woman's biology is wired to seek out a man whose life is already in motion. She wants to feel like she is stepping into a current that is already rushing forward with intense velocity. If you drop everything the second she calls, if you rearrange your entire schedule just to accommodate her boredom, you are a stagnant pond. Still water does not generate electricity. This is where the ancient Stoics understood human nature better than any modern relationship guru or therapist. Marcus Aurelius, despite carrying the weight of an empire, wrote extensively about the absolute necessity of retreating into one's own soul. He understood that a man who cannot find peace in his own solitude is a slave to external validation. A Stoic man does not ignore a woman to play petty games. He does not practice the silent treatment as a cheap manipulation tactic to make her jealous. He creates distance naturally because his life demands it. He is focused on his discipline, his physical training, his financial independence, and his legacy. When he puts his phone away, it is not to make her anxious. It is because he is actively building the very masculine frame that made her desire him in the first place. When you master the art of purposeful absence, a dramatic shift happens in female psychology. When you do not double-text her after 3 hours of silence, she starts to wonder what you are doing. When you do not immediately validate her every social media post, she realizes she is not the center of your universe. And that realization does not push her away, pulls her in. It forces her to respect you. It forces her to recognize that you are a man of high value, a man who governs his own time and attention with an iron fist. Women want a man they have to earn, not a man who is handed to them on a silver platter of constant availability. Your attention is the most valuable currency you possess as a man. When you give it away for free, endlessly, to a woman who has not done anything to earn it that day, you bankrupt your own worth. You train her to see you as a cheap commodity, not a prize. The Stoic man is deeply engaged when he is present. When he is with her, he is not distracted. He is not scrolling. He gives her his strong, grounded energy. But the moment they part ways, he returns to his own kingdom. He cuts the digital umbilical cord. He allows her to miss him. He allows the polarity to reset. This is how you command respect without saying a single word. This is how you spark a fire that keeps her invested for years, instead of burning out in a few months. But controlling your physical and digital distance is only the surface level of this psychological game. Because what happens when she realizes you have stopped chasing? What happens when she decides to test your new boundaries, not by pulling away, but by weaponizing her own feelings against you? You are about to uncover the most dangerous tool in a woman's biological arsenal, and why your natural instinct to fix her emotions is a fatal mistake. There is a silent weapon used against men every single day, and most of you willingly walk right into its line of fire. We are talking about emotional leverage. When you hear the word manipulation, you probably picture a calculated, evil plan mapped out on a whiteboard. You think of someone intentionally trying to ruin your life. But that is not how female emotional control works. It is rarely conscious, it is almost never malicious, and it is entirely driven by biological instinct. Women do not control men with physical dominance or logical debates. They control men through the emotional atmosphere of the room. They use tone, silence, heavy sighs, and unpredictable shifts in warmth to dictate your behavior. And because you were raised to be a good guy who always keeps the peace, you fall into the trap every single time. You have been conditioned to believe that a woman's bad mood is a puzzle you have to solve, or worse, a crisis you have to apologize for. You think your job as a man is to keep her happy at all times. That mindset is exactly what strips you of your masculine authority. Let us look at a brutal modern reality that plays out in millions of living rooms every night. Meet Robert. Robert is a hard-working guy, pays his taxes, goes to the gym, and tries his absolute best to be a solid partner. He comes home on a random Thursday evening expecting a normal night. But the moment he walks through the door, the temperature in the house is freezing. His partner is giving him short answers. She avoids eye contact. She sighs heavily while doing the dishes, making sure he hears exactly how frustrated she is. Robert has absolutely no idea what he did wrong. He scans his brain, trying to remember if he forgot an anniversary or left a mess in the kitchen. He finds nothing. But instead of holding his frame, his male instinct to fix, the problem takes over. He walks into the kitchen and asks, "Is everything okay?" She mutters, "I'm fine," in a tone that clearly means she is absolutely not fine. Robert panics. He starts trailing her around the house, asking her what is wrong, pleading with her to communicate. He starts offering to buy dinner, to clean the house, to do whatever it takes to break the tension. He even starts apologizing for things he did not do, just to make the coldness stop. Robert thinks he is being an emotionally intelligent, supportive partner. He thinks he is doing the right thing by trying to soothe her. But what is actually happening beneath the surface is a fatal shift in power dynamics. In that moment, she realizes something dangerous. She realizes that her mood completely dictates his reality. She realizes that all she has to do is pull back her warmth, and he will completely abandon his own center to chase her. She learns that she holds the emotional steering wheel of the relationship. And the second a woman realizes she can control your emotional state with a simple sigh, her respect for you evaporates. Women do not want a man they can control. They despise the very men they successfully manipulate. They test your emotional boundaries because they desperately want you to pass the test. They want to see if you are strong enough to withstand their emotional storms without getting swept away. This is where the Stoic shield becomes your ultimate defense mechanism. The Stoic man experiences the exact same silent treatment as Robert, but his internal software refuses to crash. He walks into the house, feels the freezing temperature, and notices the heavy sighs, but instead of internalizing her chaos, he observes it. He understands a fundamental law of Stoicism. You have power over your own mind, not outside events. Her mood is an outside event. Her silence is an outside event. He asks her once, calmly, if she wants to talk about what is bothering her. If she says, "I'm fine," with that same cold attitude, he does not interrogate her. He does not chase her around the living room. He does not start sweating and apologizing. He simply says, okay, let me know if you change your mind," and he goes right back to his own purpose. He goes to the garage to work on a project. He opens his laptop to build his business, or he reads a book. He remains entirely unaffected by the emotional pressure she is trying to apply. When you do this, you completely short-circuit the psychological game. You take away the leverage. When she sees that her coldness cannot break your focus, the tension completely changes. She is no longer looking down at a frantic, needy boy trying to win her approval. She is looking up at a grounded man who refuses to be emotionally blackmailed. She is forced to realize that if she wants to interact with you, she has to drop the passive-aggressive games and step into your calm reality. You do not fight emotional leverage with anger or arguments. You defeat it with unshakable stillness. When you stop reacting to her shifts, she eventually stops using them against you. She softens because she finally feels safe. She feels the overwhelming security of being with a man who governs himself so completely that nothing she does can knock him off balance. But holding this line requires a level of inner mastery that most modern men are terrified to embrace. It requires you to let go of the fear of losing her. Because what happens when you finally stop caring about validation and you build a mindset so untouchable that you become the prize she cannot afford to lose? You are about to discover the final shift, the ultimate Stoic power that completely rewires how the world and every woman in it responds to you. The ultimate goal of everything we have discussed today is not to hand you a new manipulation tactic. It is not about learning how to play a psychological game to trick a woman into desiring you. If you use distance, boundaries, or emotional stillness just to get a reaction out of her, you are still completely controlled by her. You are still just playing a reactive game, and eventually, she will see right through the facade. The true goal of the Stoic man is absolute, unbreakable self-mastery. We are talking about forging a mind so dense, so grounded, and so secure that you simply do not need external validation to know your own worth. When you finally reach this level of untouchable masculinity, your entire experience of the world shifts. You stop looking at a woman as a judge who hands down verdicts on your value as a man. You stop viewing her shifting moods as a personal attack that you must immediately solve or apologize for. Instead, you start seeing her exactly for what she is, a beautiful, chaotic, and emotional force of nature that is meant to be experienced, not controlled. You can never control the wind, but you can absolutely control the sails of your own ship. When you stop trying to dictate how she feels about you, you reclaim all the energy you have been wasting on anxiety. The practical application of this philosophy starts the moment you wake up tomorrow morning. When she pulls away for no apparent reason, you will not double-text her or ask her what is wrong. You will simply nod, grant her the space she is silently asking for, and immediately pivot your focus back to your own mission. When she tests your boundaries with a passive-aggressive comment, you will not lose your temper or engage in a screaming match. You will look her dead in the eye, state your standard calmly, and walk away from the drama without a single drop of sweat. When the modern world hits you with a financial crisis or a career setback, you will not use her as an emotional dumping ground. You will stand tall, accept the brutal reality of the situation, and immediately formulate a plan to conquer it. This is what it means to be the mountain. A mountain does not ask the storm to apologize for raining on it. It simply exists, entirely unbothered, outlasting every single weather pattern that passes over it. And here is the greatest, most ironic paradox of human psychology. The moment you truly stop caring whether she stays or leaves, because you know you will be perfectly fine either way, is the exact moment she will fight the hardest to stay. Women are biologically wired to attach themselves to the strongest, most unshakable force in the room. When you become a man who does not need her to survive, you become the only man she genuinely wants to follow. But becoming this man requires you to kill the weak, validation-seeking boy inside of you. It requires you to accept that true love is not built on endless compromise, but on mutual, undeniable respect. If she does not respect your boundaries, she cannot respect you. If she cannot respect you, she can never truly desire you. You must be willing to walk away from any situation, any relationship, and any dynamic that requires you to sacrifice your own dignity. The ability to walk away is not a threat. It is the highest standard of self-love a man can possess. You are the architect of your own reality, and it is time you stop handing the blueprints over to someone else. Now, I want to leave you with a question that completely divides the modern world, and I want you to take a hard stance. Here is the question: do you believe a woman can truly love and respect a man who constantly shows her his deepest insecurities and emotional weaknesses, or is radical vulnerability a modern lie that guarantees she will eventually lose attraction for you? Pick your side in the comments below, defend your ground, and let us see who actually understands human nature. If you are ready to stop being a victim of modern relationship advice and start forging a mind of iron, hit that subscribe button right now. This is Stoic.